This is In the Black, a leadership, strategy and business podcast brought to you by CPA Australia.
Welcome to In the Black, the podcast for business, finance and accounting professionals. I'm Christine Gounder, your host for today. Today, we have Caroline Edwards from Hays joining us to discuss the findings from their CFO Insights Report and the challenges and opportunities facing finance leaders today. Good to have you back with us, Caroline.
Thanks, Christine. Good to be back.
Let's start with an overview of the report. Why are the findings so significant?
So to start with, we surveyed almost 300 CFOs across Australia and New Zealand across a range of sectors. And essentially, the report explores the evolving role of the CFO into a more strategic and what we've phrased chief value officer role, which is a phrase that we are seeing more and more in articles. So this emphasises the shift from traditional finance management to driving broader organisational value. And I think that this is particularly significant as CFOs navigate challenges like cyber risk, inflation, and data management, while embracing transformative opportunities through AI and sustainability as well. These findings are critical as they highlight how CFOs must adapt to remain competitive and resilient in today's quite volatile landscape.
Caroline, the report covers a few emerging trends in the finance world. What are the top 3 trends our listeners need to know about?
Yeah, so firstly, we found cybersecurity as a critical priority. So 67% of the CFOs we surveyed rated cyber risk as their top concern. And there's a growing emphasis on proactive risk management and collaboration with technology leaders to really fortify those defenses in a business. The second was AI and automation for strategic value. So over 85% of the CFOs that we surveyed plan to leverage AI for automating routine tasks, which will free up their staff and give them capacity for higher value activities like strategic decision making and innovations. From the discussions that I had personally, this is really still in its infancy in terms of AI in the finance world. So it'll be interesting to see how AI in finance progresses over the next 5 years and how it's adopted. Then the third would be sustainability integration. So ESG is obviously becoming a core component of financial strategy, with CFOs having to lead the way in meeting those regulatory demands and aligning sustainability with long-term business value as well.
With advancements in technology rapidly transforming the finance industry, how do you see the role of the CFO evolving over the next few years?
So it's really interesting. I'll come back to the phrase that I used earlier, the chief value officer. We're finding that that's how the role of the CFO is evolving. And the main points of difference is that rather than being just a traditional CFO role that is all about financial management, the focus is around value creation for a business, as well as managing the financial performance. This essentially means that CFOs will need to embrace technology and analytics more to provide insights beyond the traditional financial metrics, to act as a strategic partner to CEOs in shaping organizational direction, prioritizing the ESG goals to ensure compliance and enhance the stakeholder trust, and then balancing risk management with innovation, particularly as AI reshapes industries as well.
The report highlights some important strategic priorities for CFOs. Can you tell our listeners what these priorities are, Caroline, and explain how finance teams can implement them?
Sure. From the results that we got, the key strategic priorities that came out of it were talent management, so attracting, retaining, and upskilling staff to bridge skills gaps in areas like data analytics and cybersecurity. The second was data utilization, so enhancing the quality and the governance of organizational data to support innovation and informed decision making. This obviously has a huge impact on how a business might use AI in finance as well. And then the third was cost management, so mitigating those inflationary pressures through technological efficiency and process improvements. So finance teams can focus on cross-functional collaboration, investing in training programs, and leveraging digital tools to streamline operations.
Risk management came up as a significant area of concern in the report. What did CFOs tell you about some of the challenges they're facing?
Yeah, it did come up quite a lot. So I think the main one that came up was cyber threats. With financial data being a prime target, CFOs are concerned about both the financial and reputational impacts of breaches. And this isn't a new thing, obviously, but I think with the increasing adoption of AI, CFOs worried about maintaining the level of cybersecurity that they need to protect a company's information. And linked to that is obviously data security. So ensuring the integrity and the quality of the data amid growing regulatory pressures around privacy and compliance as well. And then the third would be inflation and cost control. So managing operational costs while maintaining profitability in an inflationary environment. So in terms of critical solutions, CFOs are mentioning preparation, robust cybersecurity strategies, and collaboration, particularly with CTOs, as being their sort of critical solutions.
Did they talk about how they would address some of the challenges they're facing at all?
I think for a lot, particularly with the data and the cyber security, there are already measures in place, particularly in larger organizations. And it was just about staying ahead of the curve and making sure that they don't take their eye off what they're doing around cybersecurity. I think a lot of companies already have established processes, but, with the digital and AI landscape getting more and more complex, they want to make sure that they don't fall behind and leave themselves at risk.
Okay, sustainability and ESG. These are two really big areas that have become so important to financial strategies. How are CFOs dealing with this?
Yeah, so it's now a financial imperative, obviously, and regulatory requirements like mandatory climate reporting in Australia starting this year, driving CFOs to embed ESG into their strategies. CFOs are tasked with aligning financial performance with sustainability goals, creating robust frameworks for climate risk management, and communicating their ESG impacts to stakeholders. Many finance leaders do see ESG as a driver of long-term value and a critical factor in raising capital and investor engagement. But I did also find that some CFOs, particularly of more small to medium-sized businesses, are finding embedding this a little more difficult, particularly with the expectation to report on both upstream and downstream suppliers. They do have a little bit more time to prepare than the larger organizations, but I think they would potentially need support from an expert or a consultant in that area.
So, a CFO to a CVO. That's really interesting. What do the CFOs themselves think about that?
So the CVO actually came from the results of the survey, so it wasn't a question that we posed to them. But many that I've spoken to since do agree that their role is much more about value creation now rather than just financial management. And I think this is a process that's been happening for the past, good 5 to 10 years now. Many CFOs, I think, while they are tracking cash flow and creating budgets and reports and, having that executive decision support capacity, it's about integrating those practices with other value drivers to determine business success. So that might be looking at things like workplace morale and culture, employee well-being, and obviously then that translates into productivity as well. And then the other, sustainability, as we've already mentioned, looking at diversity and inclusion, brand loyalty and reputation, and then business relationships and partnerships with external stakeholders as well. So it's, a more dynamic and wide-ranging set of responsibilities than we've traditionally expected of CFOs.
From all that we know from the report, what then are CFOs doing to make sure they position themselves in their organizations for success?
Yeah, so the three core areas that we found from the report were firstly upskilling and leadership development. So 82% of the CFOs that we spoke to are pursuing formal learning to adapt to their expanded roles. The second was technological integration, so leveraging AI and digital tools to enhance efficiency and decision making. And this is both for themselves and for their teams as well. Many of the CFOs that I spoke to are really conscious to improve the skills that their team has around technology. And then the third, and very important when you're in a role like this, is succession planning. So ensuring that there are robust frameworks in place to develop future leaders within finance teams. Again, I think a lot of larger companies have this in their mind anyway, and they have teams to back them up and support them with these plans for succession for their role. However, it's probably in more small to medium-sized organizations where they don't have the support, where there needs to be a little bit more development around the succession planning. So, by embracing those strategies, CFOs are building resilience and they're leading their organizations towards a future defined by innovation and sustainability.
So, in a nutshell, what is 2025 looking like for CFOs?
Look, in a nutshell, I think for the first half, it will be business as usual, so same as last year. We're still, battling an inflationary environment, but everything I'm hearing suggests that we will have between 1 and 3 rate decreases this year, which I think will certainly ease some of the pressure for CFOs. Again, just coming back to some of the points that I've made before, I think cybersecurity and data integrity will remain a hot topic for CFOs, and they will be working very closely with their technology teams to make sure that this remains a priority. And then for most, I think the ESG piece is already in progress. So we'll see how that develops. And as I said before, for some of the smaller, to medium-sized organizations, I think they will really get their head around what's going to be required from them from an ESG perspective and how they're best going to address that problem. So I think those will be the key things for this year.
Caroline, thank you so much for those great insights. It's been great to talk to you again.
No problem at all. It's been my pleasure.
If you're interested in more details, we've included links to the Hays CFO Insights Report in the show notes. And until next time, stay in the black.
If you've enjoyed this episode, help others discover In the Black by leaving us a review and sharing this episode with colleagues, clients, or anyone else interested in leadership strategy and business. To find out more about our other podcasts, check out the show notes for this episode. And we hope you can join us again next time for another episode of In the Black.